Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about yet another aspect of Breath of the Wild 2 that I've been meaning to touch on for a very long time now. So I will admit that getting the newest trailer for the game at E3 really has made this video much easier to articulate, considering I was going off of very little initially. And to be honest, when it comes to shrines, it's still going to be hard to make any clear-cut actual conclusions. Because, I mean, let's be honest, so far we don't know if we're going to be getting a replacement for shrines at all. There's a chance that we've seen the shrine replacement in the latest trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, but nothing has been confirmed as of yet. And that would also have nothing to do with the inside of the shrines and how I could see the Zelda team changing up the shrine format in the next game, because I personally think that the shrine format works perfectly in an open world game. And I also believe that the shrines are a very good go at the idea. I just wish they were slightly more themed, but as I do in my Breath of the Wild 2 videos, I'll talk a little bit about the system in place in Breath of the Wild and how exactly I could see the developers further developing that system to make it even more enjoyable for the player to stumble around cool little puzzles around the overworld in the next game. But before we get into the main brunt of the video, if you want to see more Zelda content, then please do subscribe to the channel, as we're less than 10 subs away from 1,600 subscribers as I read this out. Plus, you'll see content from me weekly, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Breath of the Wild shrines had amazing lore to back up the appearance of them. Sheikah technology made trials set for the hero that wields the Master Sword. As you enter one of these relatively futuristic structures, you're invited to an elevator. The hero stands on the platform as you're lowered to the depths of Hyrule to undergo one of these trials. You're met with the ambient music, a sophisticated track that almost symbolises that you will need your wits about you to ensure that you solve this puzzle. Any of these trials could be the size of a small room, up to the size of a mansion, and they are just chilling underneath Hyrule. They always have been. Once the hero clears this trial, they run into a Sheikah monk that was placed in that position for the sole purpose of judging the hero, to award the hero with a spirit orb, further increasing the hero's power. I mean, let's be honest, these shrines are some of the coolest places in Breath of the Wild in terms of the actual coolness factor. Especially since the blue of Sheikah technology contrasts the rest of the overworld, it gives it its own unique feel. And especially with that music, I mean, the Sheikah technology theme in concept was a really cool theme, and would have been amazing in a dungeon and a few of these shrines probably, but I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that by the end of the game, I got pretty tired of the Sheikah tech aesthetic. All of the dungeons bordering Hyrule Castle and mini-dungeons all had a very similar feel, and especially when it comes to shrines, I feel the aesthetic was definitely drawn out. Going into my first shrine, I was happy with how it looked, but I was still looking forward to how all of the rest of the shrines might look. And when I went into the other 3 shrines in the Great Plateau, and I was a little sad that I'd seen nothing and that I'd probably seen all of the items for the entire game, especially after other games that have spoiled me with themes and items, but I was still happy with everything overall. Though there was still an expectation that I'd be seeing something that wasn't of the Sheikah aesthetic. I mean, if the tech was so good, I'm sure they'd be able to simulate some forests, desert, jungles, and other areas for Link to venture through, but nope. Instead, I ventured through 120 identical shrines with some small exceptions where you can do a little harder challenge in the overworld to open a blessing shrine up. And to be honest, I personally think this is one of the ways that I could see Breath of the Wild 2's shrines opening up. But back to the point at hand, another problem that I had with Breath of the Wild shrines was the sheer amount of puzzles. Honestly, I like a lot of puzzles being in shrines on a first playthrough, but I'll admit that by the end of the game, and on the start of a second or even a third playthrough, the repeating puzzles just don't do it for me. And even for the few shrines that do use enemies as the main focus of the shrine, with the exception of the shrine quests of course, the shrines literally use 3 different types of enemy scouts. For all of the above, the minor, modest and major tests of strength, and again, just a little bit of variation would have done here in my opinion. It was cool fighting each Guardian Scout the first time, but having to do the same thing throughout the game ended up feeling kinda lazy sometimes, and in retrospect, I don't know why they didn't make slightly cooler enemies for some of these shrines. I guess these can be chalked off as minor gripes in a way, but they're gripes nonetheless. To conclude on Breath of the Wild's dungeons though, I think they're good on a first playthrough getting all 120 shrines, and to be honest, they're good on paper. And some of them are actually very cool, and I think the setting itself is epic. Though the issues are the replayability of these shrines, along with the variety of a few of them, and the setting gets pretty old after the 50th shrine or so. Hearing the beginning of the song every single time you enter a shrine gets a little tiring. Now, let's get into how I think Breath of the Wild 2 should do shrines, keeping in mind the structures and areas that we've seen in the trailer so far. To begin with, I'll say that there's a couple ways that I think they could do shrines in the next game. Of course, they won't be called shrines again, or at least I don't think that they should be, but I think that Link could come across these kind of shrines through actively raising them throughout the game, so they could come out of the ground through doing things in the overworld, effectively making most shrines obtainable through shrine quests. Perhaps the puzzling side of the shrines could be done in the overworld, and when you enter a shrine there are sometimes maybe mini-boss encounters, but we'll get into all that soon. Raising them out of the ground would make them much harder to spot though, and honestly I don't have a good fix for that. So let's go ahead with my other idea that's been formulated through the newest trailer. Everybody has pointed this out, and I've actually gone through this twice in the last couple videos, but there's this shrine entrance that looks very similar to a Shinto shrine entrance of ancient Japan. We've actually seen this used in modern gaming in a few instances. Probably most notably in the recent PlayStation exclusive, The Ghost of Tsushima, that takes players back into ancient Japan to live through a war, and the main character scours the map for these Shinto shrines. These kind of entrances lead the player to exploring certain sections of the map, eventually leading them to the Shinto shrine. And honestly, I could see a few of the shrines in Breath of the Wild being set up in that way, that portrays them walking through these entrances and just arriving at smaller, maybe more mini kind of like shrines, making these smaller shrines a little easier to actually come across. Perhaps this really would be just a lesser version of dealing with the shrines in the overworld sense, but it'd be the solution I'd want at this rate. I want to be able to walk onto a stone shrine, perhaps something that looks a little like something from the end of the newest trailer at the right, or at least something close to that. If we're going to be living through certain aspects of the hero of 10,000 years ago, then these new shrines could teleport Link to the trials that the hero of old had to endure. Old puzzles using time as a main component, or other items that we have no clue of just yet. I think that would make an interesting idea. And next up, the theming. They could honestly do the same theme for the entire game, and I almost expect it at this point after the shrines, but personally speaking, I would really like if we could get a ton of different settings, almost like little overworlds, but only overworlds as big as like a few rooms in a test of strength shrines. There's a few ways they could do it. I mean, imagine going into a shrine and fighting some Stalfos in a massive forest temple looking area, or perhaps Redeads in an arena that's akin to just a graveyard. Certain themes would enhance both the atmosphere and puzzling effect in my opinion. Imagine a puzzle that's in a massive volcano that requires you to scale the volcano before the lava reaches you, but you're not allowed to climb, and only your item set can actually let you climb. I think that would be a ton of fun, and what's more, why can't we have puzzling sections in which we still have enemies coming at us? It teaches the player to multitask whilst under pressure. I know that I'm just throwing out ideas at this point, but some of these are honestly amazing, and could definitely be in Breath of the Wild's world, which is why the shrine equivalent in the next game could definitely be crazy. I just hope that they fulfill their potential. I mean, that is one of my biggest wishes for the next game, I must confess. So what would you like to see in the equivalent to the shrines to the sequel to Breath of the Wild? Considering I've talked for a while about what I'd want, I'd love for you to go down into those comments and tell me exactly what you want out of the shrines next time round. Go as specific as you want or as vague as you want, just leave your opinion down there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed then please do like and subscribe. It helps me out and the channel so much that it's crazy, so thank you in advance if you do one or both of those things, and thank you for watching in general. The people you can see on screen right now are my Patreon supporters, and they are amazing for helping me out each month. And Sumji is especially charming for being my highest paying patron. Thanks for the continued support, guys. If you'd like to join me, then you can for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month. It's all really appreciated, and you get some of your own benefits as well. The link to that and the rest of my media platforms are down in the description, so follow them to keep up with me. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again next week. I'm sorry this video is a little bit shorter, I'm very busy this weekend, but please everyone, do stay safe.